Okay, for this exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to look at something called warp stabilization or warp stabilizer. So sometimes when you're shooting video, if you're hand holding, the video can get shaky. So there's a couple of things you can do. One is lock that camera down on a tripod. Two, anytime you get your hands off of the camera directly, that will enhance the stabilization of the footage. So if you get a gimbal or a fly cam, that helps. Holding the camera incredibly still, and that takes a lot of practice, helps. And so that whole shaky camera thing, sometimes it looks really good, like in the Bourne Identity movies, they're doing a really cool shaky cam, but those are professional camera operators that have been working for years to shake just right. And so there's a certain kind of shakiness that's pleasant, and most of the shaky cam that we're going to make at this stage is unpleasant and that detracts. So there are some people who can do some incredibly great shaky cam footage, but it takes a lot of practice. And in that case, they've stabilized the camera with something, and then they're shaking with the action on purpose. So it's a totally different type of a thing. So one of the things you can do in Premiere is you can stabilize shaky footage. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. So I'm going to launch Premiere, and this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new project, and I'm going to import these clips. And I've got two clips that I'm going to stabilize. And I'm just going to call this project Stabilize, and import the clips and set it up properly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over, I'm going to click New Project. I'm going to call the project Stabilize. I'm going to put it into the same folder, my Adobe Premiere class folder. I'm going to click OK. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that the clips are in that folder before I bring them into Premiere. So you'll download those clips. The clips will be available for you in the canvas. I'm going to move them from somewhere else on my hard drive, and I'm going to copy the clip from one folder and put it into my Adobe Premiere class folder. And I could even make another subfolder, but I'm just going to paste them right in. And let me grab the other one. So there's two stabilized clips here that need to be stabilized, both from my MOV file. I'm going to copy those and then put them into my Premiere folder. So always make sure you put everything that's going to be part of your project in that project folder before you import it into Premiere. So Premiere will link the footage anywhere on your computer. It'll import that footage and link it. But that's a false security, because if you move that link, if you move that piece of footage from somewhere else, you're not gonna be able to find it in your project. And so it'll become a nightmare later on. And you wanna make sure that you wanna get used to, you wanna get in the habit of putting everything that's part of that project in that project folder before you import it into Premiere. So now I'm going to import those two pieces of footage. So we already talked about how to set up your project folders and how to use the bins and subfolders. I'm just going to import them straight in. I'm going to go to File, choose Import, and then I'm inside of my project folder. Double click and open that up, and I'm going to select these two pieces of footage that are shaky and click Open. It's going to import them into Premiere, and here they are. So I'm just going to grab one and drag it onto the timeline to make a sequence. And if you see here, the footage is indeed shaky. So what I want to do is apply a special effect called Stabilize. So it's called Warp Stabilize. So if I go to Effects, I can drill through these bins to find the Warp Stabilizer. But there's an easier way. I click in there where the little magnifying glass is, and I type in Warp Stabilizer. And there it is. I typed in Warp, and it came up. There's my warp stabilizer. I grab that warp stabilizer, I drag it and drop it onto the track, and it's going to analyze the footage, and it's going to do its best to clean up and stabilize that footage. So this is a workaround. It's always better to have nice, clean footage to begin with than it is to have to stabilize it, because sometimes Premiere can't, and you're just stuck with shaky video. Sometimes the stabilizer is too shaky, and when you fix it, bad things can happen. So you'll see on the screen it's saying stabilizing, and so now you'll see that it's much more stable than it was before. And if I double click on the clip and go to effects, effect controls is what I want here, you'll see that there's the warp stabilizer that's been dropped onto the clip, and that's my analyze button. And then there's some options I can choose for smooth motion, smoothness, and sometimes when it stabilizes the footage, it has to crop the footage in closer, okay? And that's my warp stabilizer. And so I want you to grab that. It's 2 pieces of footage, and you can try the warp stabilizer on both pieces of footage. And then there's some different options here as far as smoothing the motion and some other options as well. And sometimes you may have to, what it'll do, it'll stabilize, crop, and scale the footage. And that is your warp stabilization feature. It's very helpful under certain circumstances.